50% at least, Joshana. Jesus Christ, get your life together. Like, bitch, what the fuck? Well, hello. Welcome back to my channel. Joshana here to talk about some friggin' books that I really liked this year. I just recorded the bottom 10 of the year, so I'm very ready to be positive right now. I got all the negativity out of my system for now. As I said in that video, I saw Mara over at Books Like Whoa mention that someone from the HarperCollins union strike spoke to another content creator, I'm not sure who, but at any rate, they said that for these end of the year lists, they're fine with people talking about HarperCollins books. They're not requesting that we leave them off, just that we mention that the strike is still ongoing. And happily this year, my top 10 list is fully 5-star reads and 4.75. I had like just the right amount to have 10. And for me, 4.75, like if I were to go on Goodreads to rate or somewhere else that just does 5 stars and like no half or quarter, I would round up. So, they're like technically 5, but they're just ones where I was like, it's like just right there, but there's just something that's making me feel like I can't quite give it 5. So there's that. And I'm also going to talk about my most surprising of the year as well. And just like with my bottom 10 and my most disappointing, there might be some overlap a bit. Number 10 this year was So Many Beginnings by Bethany C. Morrow, a Little Women remix, young adult historical fiction, and yeah, I just thoroughly enjoyed this. I thought it was so cute and sweet and wholesome, and I really liked what she did with it and the things that she changed. I thoroughly appreciated how she changed them, and the Joe and Lori dynamic in this, I cannot express how much I loved it. Oh my God. And there's different representation in here as well. There's some asexual representation from what I gathered. And chronic illness as well, which that's not necessarily different from the previous or the original book. But yeah, I just loved this. I never read Little Women because I simply could not. It was so tedious. I've seen the old like 1940s movie a bunch of times. And then the new movie, the like 2019 movie, I've seen that one once, and I liked the story, but God, the book was tedious. This one's very short, but yeah, it was so cute, so wholesome. This is just such like a cozy comfort read for me moving forward. If I'm ever I want a feel-good time, this book. And then, next up, number 9, another 4.75. This is one I read towards the end of the year. Empire of Sand by Tasha Suri. Just love Tasha Suri. Newly decided that she is an auto-buy author for me. I just thoroughly enjoyed this. Her writing style is so great. I loved the romance in it. I thought it was very precious and I was rooting for it so much. Oh God, and just poignant. She's a very like subtly descriptive writer in my opinion. And very poignant. She just has these moments of you're like, oh God, right through the heart. Oh, I love it. Very beautiful prose, but not like overwritten, super purple prose, overly flowery necessarily, in my opinion. Oh yeah, and this is fantasy, adult fantasy. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Number 8 is the last 4.75, and that is Fairlane by Michael J. Sullivan. Adult fantasy. This is book 2 of the Rise and Fall series, but they all can be read as standalones. It is in the world of Elon, and these take place between the Legends of the First Empire series and the Rhaeria, both of those series that are around the same time. Yeah, and I loved it. This might have been 5 stars had I not accidentally spoiled a major thing for myself on accident, but that's neither here nor there. I also think, though, some of the pacing in this one was like a little off for me. So 4.75 instead of 5, but I did thoroughly love this. Very emotional. Oh my God. Number 7, the first of the 5-star ratings. What Souls Are Made Of by Tasha Suri. This is a Wuthering Heights remix. Young adult, again. So like young adult historical. And I was very, very much anticipating this. I really love Wuthering Heights, and I was very curious what she was going to do with this, and I fucking loved it. She basically starts off at the point in Wuthering Heights where Heathcliff runs off and goes off to London, and in Wuthering Heights, you don't know what he does. This is basically showing what he does and perhaps a different path and how that all plays out. Just loved it. Again, her writing style, chef's kiss, I thoroughly adore. Number 6, The Women of Chateau Lafayette by Stephanie Dray. Another historical fiction. This is a chunky bitch, but it didn't really feel like it as I was reading through it. And I buddy read this with Monet at the beginning of the year, and we both loved it. She loved it as well. You're following 3 different women at 3 different periods of time. 2 are women that actually existed in our real world, and the other one is not. She's kind of an amalgamation of women who existed in this place at that time, but she is fictional. And they all are tied into this Chateau Lafayette in some way. And oh my God, it was so interesting and intriguing, being as long as it is and all the historical stuff. It kept my interest very well. I love these women. There were several points where I got a little emotional. I tabbed it a fair amount. Several quotes to save. Just, so good. So good. And my favorite was definitely Beatrice. I love her. Oh my God. She's so great. So yeah, and this one we read in the beginning of the year, I think in January, so started off the year very well. Number 5, A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. I did actually read the original, like, self-published version of this, but I had to get this once I saw that it was coming out. Oh, and I forgot to show when I showed the book at first, when I got it in the haul. There's the end pages, but like the naked hardcover also is gorge. But yeah, and this has like a new like epilogue at the end or something that I don't know if I'm gonna love from what I hear about it. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed this. It's following one of Dracula's vampire brides, and it's about abusive relationships, and a lot of it just spoke to me. I thought it was well done, and I just really appreciated it. And it was very well written, beautifully written, in my opinion. Number 4, the next 5-star read, The Oleander Sword by Tasha Suri. She is on here 3 times. No big deal. Yeah, loved this. This is book 2 in the Burning Kingdoms Empire, or Burning Kingdoms series. And yeah, just love it. Just thoroughly loved it. I think I tabbed it up an okay amount. I don't tab like crazy like some people do, but yeah, I just got even more in love with these characters and this world and what we're doing here. I reread The Jasmine Throne, and I gave it a slightly higher rating on reread, and then read this and just was engrossed with the characters and what was happening, and I cannot fucking wait for book 3. Oh my God. Number 3 is a book that actually does not get published until this year, 2023. Can't remember when. When does it get published? Like March, I want to say. I don't know. If I remember, I'll put it up on the screen. But yeah, The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. I had a NetGalley e-arc and read it and fucking loved it. And it is in the same world as the Daevabad trilogy. Completely different time period. Very different time period, like centuries, millennia, I don't know. Very far apart. But same kind of world, so there's like Deva and stuff like that. There's the same types of like creatures. And I just really, really enjoyed it, obviously. Number 2 is Nolan by Michael J. Sullivan, book 1 of the Rise and Fall series. Yeah, I was gripped immediately by this story and by these characters. Michael J. Sullivan did not disappoint. I just got emotional in certain parts. I was like fucking rooting for them, like, hell yeah, in certain parts. And I got Roger to read this recently because he also read the Legends of the First Empire and loved it. So I was like, bro, you gotta continue. You gotta read Nolan. And he also loved it. And like hearing him talk about it again, I was like, yes, like, you're right. That was so good. So yeah, thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyed Nolan. I'm gonna be so sad, like, with Esarhaddon, the 3rd book. Like, is that gonna be it for the world of Elon? It can't be. It can't be. And now for number 1, my favorite book of the year. New book to me. I did read City of Girls this year, but you know, I don't count rereads in this. But I did read this book twice this year. So it was a reread on the second read. Can you guess what it is? The Final Strife by Sara El-Arifi. I loved it, and this is so beautiful. This is the Goldsboro one, and this is the other. This is the US cover, which did grow on me. And then the UK cover, the regular UK right here. And I think when I initially read this, it was an e-arc. Yes, when I initially read it, it was a NetGalley e-arc. And it took me so fucking long. The first time I read this book was the longest it took me to read a book this year. Because ebooks in general, I tend to struggle really getting into it. But the first bit of this book is admittedly, pacing-wise, it's a bit slow. There's not a lot going on. You're just kind of following this drug-addicted character around while she tries to get drugs. So I was contemplating DNFing it. It was just taking me so long. I was 3 weeks into it already, I want to say. It had taken me I was a month into it. Yeah, it had taken me a month to read the first 15, 20%. And I was like, I just need to DNF this at this point. Holy shit, this is taking me so fucking long. But I wasn't hating anything, if that makes sense. Every time I pick it up, I was reading it, I was like, okay, cool. I just wasn't getting gripped by it, but I also wasn't mad at anything. So I was like, no, I should continue. There's nothing making me be like, fuck this, I'm out. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it to 50%. It's a NetGalley e-arc. I already had recently DNF'd a different one. I was like, 50% at least, Joshana. Jesus Christ, get your life together. You can do it. And then right around 30%, I was hooked. I was fucking hooked. The final 70% of the book, so once I got to that 30%, again, this was a month into reading it at least, it took me 2 or 3 days to finish the rest of it. I ate it up, and I just loved it. I fully loved it. And then I reread it later in the year when Ingrid and Elle were reading it, and I was like, I'll buddy read it with you. I'll read it again. It had been published by then, and I had the physical copy, and still loved it on reread. So fun, so good. So yeah, I will definitely admit that the beginning there's some pacing stuff. And I did recently see, so okay, I had seen someone when I initially read it, I had seen a negative review being DNFing, this is so fat phobic. And their reason for saying it was fat phobic was this one character telling Anur is the character who is a fat character. And they were like, her mom is always calling her fat and telling her she's fat. It's so fat phobic. And I was kind of I didn't say anything about it in my review, I don't think, because I was I don't really have any room to say whether or not I think it is or isn't. But that element specifically, I was just she's an evil character. So for me, I'm I don't think that makes the book necessarily fat phobic. Yes, that character is being that way. And if you don't want to read that, that's fair and fine. But calling the whole entire book fat phobic for this specific reason, I just was I don't feel that really means the same thing though. She's written very clearly to be a negative, bad, not nice character. And this other character, Sila, was loving on Anur's curves and I wish I looked like you, So I was I don't think that's necessarily fair. I did see though, Becca at Becca in the Books, she read this recently and talked about it. And she did say that she found, at least the beginning part, she said at a certain point, I think she said around 40 or 50%, she didn't see any more instances of this, but in the beginning part, she did see some instances where she found the text itself to be fat phobic. And she buddy read it with Erin at Booked and Busy, and I think she said the same thing as well. That there were elements of it was the author saying stuff that seemed that way. So figured I would call that out or bring attention to that. If you're someone who would be sensitive to that, you might also find that in the beginning part, which is no fun, not great. But yeah, they said the rest of it wasn't like that. At least Becca was saying that she didn't see any more instances of that afterward. And for her personally, she didn't say that it upset her deeply or anything. It was just weird, and she kept noticing it. And I didn't notice it when I read it. I obviously, though, I'm a pretty thin person, and I kind of always have been, so stands to reason that I might not catch things like that. So I just wanted to bring it up in case you are someone who might be sensitive to that. But yeah, the plot and everything and where we left off at the end of this book, my God, I like screamed out loud at this one reveal. I was like, bitch, what the fuck? Oh my God, like I yelled. And I just cannot fucking wait for the next book. The Battle Drum, I cannot fucking wait. Oh my God, I'm so excited. And then for my most surprising, I picked four. I picked 4 surprising and 4 disappointing. Mostly just, I couldn't find that many more that really felt that way for me. And so there's a little bit of crossover here because, I don't know, for me, most surprising are ones that I went into. I don't go into any book really expecting to not like it. I am not often doing that. But, you know, there's just certain books that you kind of go into like, we'll see. We'll see what's up with this. I don't know. And these books fell into that category where I kind of went into them like that and then ended up being like, wow, no, I either loved this or I really enjoyed this. In no particular order at all. The first one, though, is Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi because like I said, the piracy element, and because I didn't love the ending of the Daevabad trilogy, and like overall with time, I've just realized I didn't like love that whole trilogy, but there were so many elements to it that I did love, and elements to the characters that I did love. I was just kind of a little hesitant. I was like, I'm curious about this. We'll see. And then I fucking loved it. So, love that for me. Yay. And another surprising one was So Many Beginnings by Bethany C. Morrow. And I think this one just because I wasn't really sure what to expect. Have I read anything by Bethany C. Morrow before? At any rate, I'm just not super familiar with the author's writing and whatnot. And I didn't love the original story of The Little Women, the book. So I just was kind of like, we'll see. Again, I pre-ordered it wanting to like support and everything. And I was like intrigued, but I just wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did. I was hoping and expecting like, I'll enjoy it. But man, I just loved it. Next surprising one is A Quiet Life in the Country by T.E. Kinsey. I saw Mara talking about this. She did a video of like reading her like book twins favorites or something, another booktuber who they tend to have a lot in common with what they like, and that booktube, I can't remember who it was now, but they really love this series, so Mara read it and quite enjoyed it as well, and I was just like, that sounds like maybe fun. Again, I didn't go into it expecting I wouldn't like it, but I just don't read a lot of cozy mystery. God, what is my hair's like, in the winter when it gets like, not quite staticky, but where it's like, it's doing that shit. Anyway. But yeah, I don't read a lot of cozy mysteries necessarily. I've tried reading some more contemporary cozy mysteries and I don't love them. But I was like, maybe a historical one will be cool. And I just thoroughly enjoyed this. So much fun. I bought the whole series. I'm reading through them. And I mean, it's, a formula and it's like the same kind of thing. But I gave it 4.5 stars. I just had such a fucking fun time. Lady Hardcastle and Flo are just so much fun. I love them. And the last one for my most surprising list is The Holiday Trap by Roan Parrish. This is a little contemporary romance holiday thing, and I picked it up just wanting to try out a few books like this, holiday, Christmassy books, seeing if I could find one or two that I really like and would want to reread most holiday seasons. And I really, really liked it. I bought it. I liked it enough to buy it. I read it on ebook, and I gave it 4.5 stars. I love the movie The Holiday, which this is kind of inspired by, and I just thought it gave all of those vibes of that movie, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And lots of good representation here, very diverse representation, and yeah, it was just so fun. So fun. 10 out of 10. Would recommend. And there we are, my favorites and my most surprising. I feel like this year was a weird reading year for me because it's like I read about the same amount of books total, but I DNF'd a lot more this year. And the first part of the year especially, month by month, I wasn't reading nearly as much as I normally do. I was picking up books to read way less. Like I was sitting down to read way less frequently, it felt like, especially in the first half of the year. Not for any particular reason, I just wasn't. But I ended up having quite a few books that I really fucking loved this year, and only a couple that I hated. As I said, though, the one that I really fucking hated, I really fucking hated. But several 5 stars and 4.75, and several 4.5 this year also. So I think it ended up being a pretty dang solid reading year for me. And here's to hoping that 2023 will be the same. Did you read any of these books that I loved, and did you also love them, or maybe not so much? Let me know. Be kind, though, please. If you hated them or something. No, you can tell me, it's fine. I still will love them. Like, comment, and subscribe if you feel so inclined, but you have not already. And as always, thank you so much for your time. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.